Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
We have yin and yang dogs. So.
Karma and Luna wanted to join us this morning. They wouldn't leave us alone as we were sitting here preparing. Oh, Karma.
So we're going to let them down and talk to you about a few things.
Oh, they're so funny.
Everybody's so proud of their dogs. No, come
So
on.
cute. So today we were going to talk about sleep, and my dogs are actually experts at sleep.
Oh, God.
They do it a
You're
lot.
welcome. What I'd like to say before we even start, the reason, usually we sit in the same place every time to film this, and we usually have a lamp on. This light you're seeing on us is the beautiful, perfectly sunny day out here in Rochester, New York. It's beautiful out, so that's all natural sunlight coming through there. So just wanted to say that for the record.
Yes, and we were walking the canal yesterday, and things are blooming.
Yeah.
There were daffodils and fresh green leaves.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yay!
Awesome, yeah.
So the light is changing.
And forsythia that we talked about earlier,
yes,
the beautiful
that's
yellow
right.
blossoms everywhere.
Part of Yin Chow.
Which I'd never seen until I moved here. I loved it.
Part of the herbal formula.
Yeah.
But we didn't pick any and eat it.
No. Yeah, no.
We went.
The horse farm we were walking by that had, I probably wouldn't have appreciated that.
We didn't start
So,
grazing
yeah.
like the horses were doing. It was tempting.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about sleep because sleep is such an important part of our immune system. And since we've been doing that focus, it's, we thought we'd get to that. And I know for me, that's the top part of my life that I look at if I'm not feeling well. I go to sleep right away as far as I go to sleep.
I've known
The subject as well as go to sleep.
I've known her for 27 years, and she's always talked about good sleep.
Yes.
For 27 years.
I am a sleeper.
Yeah.
I love my sleep. I like it to be good sleep. And I know it affects me in every way, body, mind, and spirit, if I don't have good sleep.
And if you think about sleep, it's, and this is what I say to my patients in the clinic, it's free, sleep is free, but the lack of sleep exacts a huge cost on all of us for chronically, right? Yes. So that's my little saying.
A little Rickism. Wow. I haven't heard that one.
And to the point Laura was just saying, I, being 67, just turning 67, I'm doing different exercise programs. And there's this guy called Fit Fathers Over 40. It's a wonderful site on YouTube. Wonderful. And that's a shout out to them. And Anthony, I always get his name, it's an Italian surname, really awesome guy. And he said, look, I can sit here and tell you this weight loss program, this exercise. He has 7 steps to being fit and keeping weight down and stuff. He goes, number 1, sleep. If your sleep isn't good, none of these other things are really going to help.
Yep,
So.
it's very true. So we can dive right into the benefits of sleep, and that's a wonderful one. Sleep is very important for weight control. So there's a few reasons for that. First of all, oftentimes when we don't sleep well, what happens is the next day we're exhausted, and we try to make up for our energy level by eating more. And that can give you that temporary boost, especially if we're eating like simple carbs, which are not ideal.
Right.
But it'll give you that temporary boost of energy. But what happens when you do something like that? Like a simple carb would be like sugar or white flour or, something like, white potatoes, something that's very, gonna give you that boost of glucose real quick. And but then once you hit that high, what happens is you come crashing down, and then you want more. So it puts you into this eating cycle.
Weird cycle,
so you want to get your sleep so you don't get into that I want to eat more cycle. Also, there are 2 hormones that are affected by a lack of sleep. They're called ghrelin and leptin. And ghrelin is your hunger hormone. And if you don't get enough sleep, that is decreased. And that makes you feel like you're hungry all the time.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, no. Ghrelin is increased if you don't sleep enough. So it causes you to feel hungry all the time. Your leptin is your satiety hormone or your full hormone. And if you don't sleep enough, then that is deficient, so you don't feel full as quickly.
No.
So
Did not know
not sleeping well increases your hunger and decreases your ability to feel full. So it's very important for the weight aspect. So then, as you look at that, another piece of the weight is this other health deficiency that happens if you don't sleep well, is that you can produce more of the stress hormone cortisol. So cortisol, an increase in cortisol also makes you feel stressed. So when you are sleep
Interesting,
deprived,
isn't it?
the next day
Yeah.
you feel grumpy.
Right.
And I know I've been there. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't get enough sleep. Stay away from me.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, so that cortisol increase can make you feel more stressed, more grumpy, also can make you gain weight. So back to that weight thing again. So for your mood, we look at everything body, mind, and spirit. For your mood, you also want to get proper sleep so you're not feeling as grumpy. So when you look at also cardiovascular health, it is affected by a lack of sleep, and your immune system. That's how we all started out here with this topic. Is
Yes.
Your immune system is actually very much impacted by your sleep, and research shows that you are more prone to getting colds, and your infection fighting ability is decreased if you don't get enough sleep. Sleep really is one of the best medicines.
We should be shouting that last statement Laura just said. It is, when I have patients that come in, they have a cold sore or something, like, a herpes blister on there. And some people get them chronically, and they'll say, I said, so tell me what's been going on. I've been under a lot of stress. My sleep's been off. I've had a sick child at home, or I've been taking care of my disabled mother, or so many variations on the theme. And the immunity drops from lack of sleep. And it's opportunistic at that point. These issues can come in, whether it's a simple cold, flu, something as crazy as we're doing with novel COVID-19, to just you get more symptoms of deficiency that we would associate it clinically.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's the piece about brain health. So very much they're linking lack of sleep to like Alzheimer's and dementia. And then also, here's the kicker on that, Ambien and some of the other sleep prescription medications are being linked to that too. So here you are, you're not sleeping well enough, it's affecting your brain health. You can't think as well the next day. In fact, they're saying that sleep deprivation is similar to being drunk the next day. So when you're trying to operate the next day and you're trying to get through your day, it's similar to being drunk if you haven't had enough sleep. So
and I've read in different war zones that what they would do, rather than actually torturing people, they would just, right when they go into REM sleep, they just throw a bucket of cold water on them, wake them up. Well, 3 days of that, and you'll tell them where your grandmother lives. I mean, they didn't even have to hit them, touch them, just keep waking them up.
Right.
And consistent no sleep, you're crazy.
Right.
I mean, and a little self-confession here. I did not know I just got diagnosed with sleep apnea about 4 months ago, and didn't realize. Laura's been telling me for years, you've got to get your sleep together. You got to get your sleep together. So snoring and stuff led me. I had severe sleep apnea. Got on the CPAP machine. Life-changing. I think Laura would be the first to say.
Yes.
My grumpiness quotient went from like 90% to like 10%, and that's just conditional things that happen.
Yeah, and just like the falling asleep on the couch,
Oh
that
my
type
God.
of thing.
Unbelievable difference.
It was like a light switch when he started with the CPAP. So that's really big. So yeah, I think there's so many aspects.
I wasn't getting good sleep.
Yep.
The quality of sleep was terrible.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we're glad about that. And here's another thing with our society, and I think this is a big issue with our society, is we don't put value on sleep.
No, that's
when
right.
we have a lot of things going on in our lives, the first thing that we skip is we sleep less. So
I never thought about that.
yeah,
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
I'll just get this done, and then you go to bed later or get up earlier. And we don't put the value on our sleep, whereas you're more productive if you actually get a good night of sleep, and you're going to be able to focus better and get more done. So I think there's that piece of it. And another way I noticed that our society does not value sleep is that if for some reason you lay down in the middle of the day, or even in the morning, if someone calls you and you pick up the phone and you were asleep, and they'll be like, "Were you sleeping?" And you're like, No, I was awake.
You weren't.
Cracks me up. It's like, no, you weren't awake,
Right.
and that's okay.
Right.
You're sleeping. You
Right.
need to do it. So sleep is so important for those reasons. And from the Chinese medicine perspective, we really look at sleep, again, holistically.
Right.
And we really look at it as that time when we say we rest our Shen, that's spelled S-H-E-N, or our spirit. And if our spirit, our Shen, isn't rested well, then we're not able to function as well the next day. And there's also these time periods in our circadian rhythm, or the Chinese body clock, that each organ has 2 hours that it correlates with. And if you are not, kind of acting in a helpful way during those 2 hours, and during that sleep time, if we're not sleeping well during those 2 hours, then that organ system is going to be affected. And we're talking about chi or energy there, not necessarily that your physical organ is going to be, damaged or something like that. But
and the Shen is seen through the brightness and the luster of the eyes. So clinically, we can just look at somebody and they have that kind of that dull look in their eyes aren't bright. The Chinese say that you can see the Shen, that spirit lord just referenced, through the brightness of the eyes.
Yeah.
And so clinically, it's not real hard to look at somebody who isn't sleeping, and the bags come, and there's so many visual signs we can see.
Yeah.
So.
And when you come in and if you tell us you're not sleeping, we might ask you questions like, well, are you having a hard time falling asleep? Because we're dividing this into really 3 categories.
Right.
Difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep, and then your dreams. Like some people say, I have such intense dreams that I wake up. So we'll talk to you about that, because that could be a different diagnosis. We might even ask you what type of dreams, like are they violent or just vivid, that type of thing.
And we're not dream interpreters, but
it tells us actually diagnostic tools.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And also what times you're waking up in the middle of the night. That's a diagnostic tool as well, because that's going to tell us which organ system might need some balancing and some tweaking. So we are going to go into tomorrow ways to help you sleep.
Yes. Yep. Acupressure points.
Yes.
A few nutritional things.
Yep.
One thing I want to say, and you can see Laura's is just got the sleep thing done, and you can tell sleep hasn't been that important to me until relatively recently, and I've seen so many health benefits sleeping better now. And the thing that we see the most of, though, is the mental health part of it, which I think we'll address more, like we said, tomorrow, of how it affects the continual lack of sleep, how that just, it's like a dog chasing its own tail. It just gets this whole negative cycle for a person.
Yeah.
So that's what I was looking for, slipping out of there for a second. So
yeah. So just some goals. For adults, we really want to try for 7 to 8 hours of sleep. For teenagers, more like 9 to 10 or 9 to 10 hours of sleep. A little bit more than we older folks. And then for school age kids, 10 or more hours of sleep. And then babies, of course, little babies, they're getting like 14, 16 hours of sleep. Nice. And toddlers like somewhere in between like 12, 14 hours of sleep. So just shooting for that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, if you can go for that. Very
and also we're getting ready to because we're running out of time here for keeping you all here. We also, I think we should address tomorrow, screen time before bed.
Oh yeah, no, that's part of tomorrow.
Yeah, I figured that was part of tomorrow, knowing my thorough partner
so
here.
Angela just asked about eating before bed. That's really not a good idea. In Chinese medicine, we really say to eat, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. In Chinese medicine, it's ideal, and this doesn't always happen in the winter, especially with daylight savings time, to be eating your last meal right before it's like getting dark out. So, and we don't want to do that necessarily in summer because all the cycles are different. So different parts of the world, we might adjust it differently, and we can talk a little bit more about the eating window one day when we get into the idea of intermittent fasting as well.
Yep.
But if you're eating right before bed, then your body is trying to digest that meal. So your chi is going to that area. And really one of the healing benefits about sleep is that your body and your brain get to rest and they get to attend to other things like healing the body. So try to eat earlier.
You know us, we can keep blabbing and blabbing. We got all kinds of things. We love doing this. And I've learned so much about sleep with Laura. I mean, so much. Because like I said, it wasn't a priority.
I'm a sleeper.
Yeah.
I love it.
So she's taught me so much.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us tomorrow. Tips for better sleep. Yep. And we'll go over tips, acupressure, supplements, all that
et cetera.
And lifestyle choices.
Have a great sunny day,
everyone. Yes, go for a walk. Get outside. That's
really
one thing
nice
that's good for the
there.
sleep. Get some sunshine.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.